Was Netzach?
Baruch Hashem. So, we ready to learn? Actually getting now too.
I think. Can we turn off the heating?
What?
You said off the heat. No heat.
Okay.
You see? Turn off heat. No heat.
Okay, let's go. בוקר טוב לכולם. Okay, I want to do.
Off. No hot. No. No hot. Take off heat.
Okay, let's go.
No heat.
We're going to continue the ultrasound mimer. Yalla. I just saw today a sikha of the Rebbe Rayatz. He says every chassid needs to be learning 3 hours of chassidus every day. As Matri, 3 shows, doctor. I thought we were doing well with 1 hour. He says 3 hours a day you got to learn. And the way to learn, he says, is first you learn the mimer once. You go through it. After you do it 1 time, then you go more to see each parak. And then you go start doing it again. Okay, let's go. So we're talking about korbanos and offering korbanos to Hashem. And what does it mean to offer korban to Hashem? So you have a nefesh bahamis. I've never seen an explanation of what it means to offer korbanos that I can understand and relate to and have any kind of concept of what it means to offer a korban until I saw this over here. I mean, which is brought very often in Likutei Torah, but yeah. So the beer is that every person so send is your negative thinking and you want to burn them up on the mizbeach. So nowadays we don't have the mizbeach. So what do we do? Boker tov. So what do? We daven. So now reframe what's happening in davening. It's beautiful. What you're doing is davening is me building a mizbeach to Hashem. So I'm creating a space of closeness to Hashem. Right? That's for sure. Davening is me connecting. And in that space that I'm connecting, what I'm going to do is bring my animal onto that space. So the art of davening over here is to learn how to bind the two together. Follow? So that davening is not abstract and esoteric. You're talking about Hashem, and simultaneously you're bringing your animal onto the korban. So if you're davening and you're not expressing what to yourself what you're going through, you ain't davening. Boker tov. So that's what we say Baruch Atah Hashem. So we're holding on column 2, and we say so Baruch Atah Hashem. The definition of Baruch Atah Hashem is I'm going to bring Hashem down into this space that I'm going through now. And so too, anytime you're doing anything, it's not just feelings, right? It's also eating and drinking, and everything you're doing becomes a home for Hashem. I think that's one of the greatest contributions of this idea of Dir B'Tachleinim. Again, it's not just feelings and experiences. If I am going to work, right? If I'm going to work is a godly, divine experience. What's godly about going to work? The answer is Dir B'Tachleinim. Because what we're doing is building a home for Hashem down in this world. So when you're going to work, what are you doing? Bringing Elokus down into this world. And that's how to see every experience in life. What am I doing over here to make a reality for Hashem? Okay, let's pick it up on column 2. The line begins Hadam. Hadam wa nefesh, mamish middle of the page. So Hashem wants to consume food. And just like when you eat food, the food is what becomes blood. So too, Hashem is eating the food. V'zeu chayusa v'kiyumah. Kach so too, al yedei shochas or Hashem al nafshay b'kiyum mitzvah sur merava asay toiv. When you draw the light of Hashem onto you through keeping sur merava asay toiv, Nasa kisei umochoin the shifto, you become a home and a receptacle and a dwelling place for Hashem. Until the light of God literally touches you and is negeya to your soul. You and Hashem become one atzmiut. You follow this idea? So again, just to frame this, every single thing you do in life is divine and godly. And offering korbanos is taking every single experience that comes your way and binding that experience to make it connected to Hashem. And when you do that, you draw the light of Hashem onto you, because those the light of Hashem, that's what's actually bringing it down. We're in the middle of the page. Line begins Echad Mamish, column 2, page 120, 110. Sorry, where are we?
No, mainly years guys all around.
Sorry, one line four. Sorry. So then what it does, what it causes me to do is to be upset at the negativity, like you get upset at the opposite of what happens to you. When a person's angry at something, he gets angry at something, right? So what is the anger? The anger is me being upset that's not going my way. So over here, he's using anger in a positive sense and saying that you're blocking me. You're blocking me from Hashem. So what you want to do is pay attention to every single time something goes wrong. And those are the most beautiful moments in life, because you get to bring Hashem into your life. You know, I was having a farbrengen with my wife last night because we had a whole day of experiences whereby we basically were in Toronto, and then every single flight was canceled. We went to the airport, spent a day in the airport trying to get onto a flight. Some people got on, some people didn't. Long story, we switched to a different airline and back, and then whatever. Bottom line is we didn't have a thing, so we rented a car. And we went to Buffalo. And then we figured out that it's too difficult to drive in the snow. So we arrived at the airport, and it was arrived at a flight of 7:05. We got on, but they wouldn't let us on. So as we get to there, I was like, we arrived there 8 minutes too late. And you're thinking to yourself, okay, that plane's not going to make it. No, it is going to make it. And the plane's going to arrive, and we stayed overnight, and we have to come and fly in the morning. And then you wonder, why does Hashem do this to me again? Like, what are you thinking, God? Like, what was the reason for that, to drive me in sugar? And I'm thinking about this all the time. The reason is to test your bitachon and to test, are you still able to let go and let the Eibishter run the show? Are you getting angry, frustrated? And you are, of course you are. But you get broiges, what's with me? What's, not in a negative sense, in a positive sense. Everything's cool. So why shouldn't I just be attached to the Eibishter the whole time? And this is the idea of offering korbanos. So when you daven and you take all the experiences you're going through, all the frustrations, and you say, okay, what I'm feeling now is Hashem. So what ends up happening is those little stupidities that occur in my life, they are the elokus. They are the flow of godly energy. And that's what it means, Yitzchak. What's Yitzchak? Yitzchak is spectacular, because Yitzchak means laughter, right? So, how do I laugh? I laugh from the opposite of the experience of what makes me crazy is what makes me laugh, right? Because you can't get excited when you don't see concealment. It's only when you see concealment and you bring a locus into it, then you see it, it's exciting. That's Yitzchak. So Zivchei Elikim means you want to offer a zevach, a korban to Hashem. How do you offer korban to Hashem? It's only to Elikim, which is Hashem as he appears in nature where you don't see him. And the way it is a contrite heart.
What does that have to do with Yitzchak?
What?
What does that have to do with Yitzchak?
Yitzchak is when you don't see Hashem, right? Because when he was born, Sarah Imenu called him Yitzchak because she said, "Choik osoli Elikim," right? She said, "Elikim made me laugh." So what does it mean Elikim? There's a teva. Elikim is a teva, and Havaya is revelation. If you have Yud Kei Vav Kei revealed, It's nice, but it's not exciting. Elikim is where you don't see Hashem. That's what makes you laugh. It's so cool. It's incredible when you don't see Hashem and you offer it to him. But the Alter Rebbe is giving a whole new type. Ziv Chelikim Ruach Nishbara, I would have thought always meant Ruach Nishbara means that it's me having a broken soul. If I'm davening with brokenness, so that is a carbon to Hashem. Now, Alter Rebbe is saying no, a different shot. That's also true. Ziv Chelikim, what's a carbon to Elikim? Ruach Nishbara, Dainu Ruach HaSitra Achra, when you break the Sitra Achra. So Sitra Achra has a spirit of getting angry and frustrated and unhappy and disappointed and all the time. And when you break it and you accept Hashem into your life, getting excited, that's the Yitzchak. The Sitra Achra gets broken. And that is the carbon.
Beautiful.
Now, somewhere here, right, I don't know where, if you can find it before, he spoke about Avram. Because remember the beginning of the Avram and Yitzchak vel Yaakov. And Hashem says the way to get to divine experiences is by going through Avram, Yitzchak, and Yaakov. So Yitzchak is this over here. Avram was somewhere earlier. We've got to find him, but I don't know where we'll find him later. If anyone finds him, let me know. And now Yaakov. What's Yaakov? He's there. Yaakov. What's Yaakov? Me, that's Rachmon, Usal Nafsho. Avram is Av. Yitzchak is the Gvura. He said, what's Yitzchak? Looking at yourself and saying, again, I don't know if it means getting angry. It means taking every experience and saying, what's with me? You got the wrong explanation. You know why you missed the flight? So that you should have more bitachon in Hashem. Okay? An opportunity to reveal Hashem. So that's Ziv Chelikim Ruach Nishbara. That's breaking the Sitra Achra. Now you get to the next midah, which is Yaakov, that you have to have compassion al nafshay. Kasha yiraba b'toicha shi b'soicha afeicha. So compassion means, again, I think this is the most, I identify personally with this midah the most. Compassion is when you get angry, instead of saying, oh, why did I get angry? Say, oh, why did you get angry? So you get angry because you didn't believe in Hashem. Right, it's hard. Instead of getting upset at him, give him compassion that the godly spark is there and you really were trying. First you get angry. That's interesting. And you're supposed to get angry at the bad, and then you have compassion. If a person has a straight path in his life, meaning he doesn't do this work, so then he doesn't get to experience the midah of Rachmanus ever. He doesn't get to experience that connection. The Rachmanus was chola ve'achono lesimcha. So if you want to have joy in life, again, what's the process of joy? You start off life and things are happening to you and you're getting all angry and upset. Why is it happening to me? And then you start realizing that everything is Elokus, that's Yitzchak, everything is Hashem, and Ziv Chelikim, and you're offering all the time. You're saying, what am I feeling now? Angry, frustrated, disappointed, like whatever, give it over to Hashem. That's your offering a carbon to Hashem. The Ruach of Sitra Achra is broken. From that you get to Yaakov. What's Yaakov? You have compassion for yourself. You say, this is hard. I'm living life and it's not easy for me to be a godly being. And it's hard and I'm still succeeding. Kol hakavod. Good for you. When you do this, suddenly life becomes the most joyous experience. You can miss every flight in the book and you're just excited. Because you're just bringing Elokus all the way down. So who cares? I made money, I lost money, or whatever. It's all good.
What does this have to do with compassion? I'm not understanding the compassion part.
So in your head, you have, you said earlier in the page, right? You have your Hurry vision. Your Hurry vision is all the negative thinking.
Right.
So negative thinking is, I should have done that. On a very basic level, I should have done that. I didn't do this. Why didn't I do this? Why, whatever. And all that, right? I'm having all sorts of compassion on myself. And I'm sorry, I'm having upset why this is going on. And compassion on a very basic level is, hey, you didn't know better. You were trying. Even try this. If you did an Aveira, right? You did an Aveira, you could scream at yourself and feel guilty. Or you could say, why did I do the Aveira? Because I was trying to, right? I thought I could, I get addicted. Why did I do the addiction? Because it was hard for me. I was having a difficult time. And I was struggling. I really wanted just to get off, and my spark. So you have compassion, please spark. You see the difference? Look, if you do an Aveira, and if it's just one soul, so you get upset at yourself, why'd you do the Aveira? The Mitzvah Rebbe has a mind on this, where he says, if you do an Aveira, instead of getting upset at yourself, look back and say, wow, I have a godly spark inside me. And that godly spark, when I did the Aveira, became concealed. And I'm going to have compassion for it. And that compassion, so therefore, after you did a big Aveira, you go daven more, not less. If you feel guilty, so then you're going to go, how dare I daven? I'm not worthy. But if you feel godly, you feel Rahmanus, you say, hey, I feel compassion for my soul. And therefore, I'm going to daven even more now. So the midah of compassion is probably the most powerful midah you could use in yourself. And yeah, you know who it just reminds me? Rabbi Manis Friedman, one of his best lines I ever heard from him. He says, if you walk into the room, he said a Chassidish guy once told him that I walked into the house late at night and I saw my teenage son. And I saw the kid and he was on the computer and I caught him. He didn't know I thought I was sleeping. And I was on the computer in the room and I caught him a red hand and he was watching, things he shouldn't have been watching, inappropriate images. So he says, okay, what'd you do? He says, Rabbi, you don't know what I did. Don't want to know what I did. It's not done. He said, well, I think you should have done. Should have walked past and just nonchalantly said, oh, you're looking at pictures of people without clothing? Oh. And then go to sleep. I thought that was one of the most brilliant answers ever. Oh, deal with it later on. But what's the point? The point is that you dealt with it instead of with anger, with Rahmanus. Right? You're like, Mom, seriously, that's what you're doing? It's like it's compassion. So the midah of compassion is a very compelling midah, that's all. In every way. Anyway, so Rahmanus u'atchala ve'atchana l'simcha. So Rahmanus is joy. Why? In Tanya, the Alter Rebbe writes, Hein emes, after you do an Aveira. Instead of feeling guilty, you say to yourself, Hein emes, listen, I did something, I'm pretty bad. It's true, I am pretty bad. But you know what? I didn't make myself. Hashem, ani le'asisi asmi. Those are the quotes in Tanya. He says, I didn't make myself. Hashem, you made me. And so in other words, the problem with an Aveira is not the punishment you're going to get. The problem is, what's the problem with an addiction? It's going to destroy you. That's the problem. Aveiras destroy you completely. But what you do is have Rahmanus, so that's why it says, and also it says, and that's why he says, it's so awesome. I get to be a holy Jew, Mekadesh with the mitzvahs of Hashem. That's incredible. This is the advantage of light over darkness. So the darkness, not that he's saying, not over darkness, from darkness. Which means, what's the best light you could ever get when you transform the darkness? This is why it says, Pasuk says they'll come crying. That's why they'll come crying. Right? They'll be crying and looking for Hashem. So the finding Hashem is associated with crying. Why? Because the Alter Rebbe is saying, again, when Mashiach comes and everything will be open, you'll see Elokus revealed. It'll be like Givaldi. You'll see Elokus. But nowadays, you don't see Elokus. So one day, when the skies, everything's open, and suddenly everything becomes revealed, you'll come crying to Hashem. Because the cry is from an absolute revelation and a contrast of dark over light, of light over darkness. So the Bechia comes from the Re'iyah, Baruch Habasa, V'oz Yisrael Rachmanus B'me'oid Al-Avra. What's going to be is like all these things I was doing, I missed the whole idea. That Rahmanus, that Bechia, is the beginning of Simcha. To rejoice with the living God. And all I want is a closeness to Hashem. That's the end of that pasuk, right? Look up where it is if you want to see at the back. So I'm looking for God. Slach lanu ki chatanu. Meir Dikavor Tal Rebbe says a few times. He says, you get to Shemona Esrei, you already did davening, right? And you get to Shemona Esrei, and what do you say? Slach lanu avinu ki chatanu. Slach lanu ki chatanu v'lo koydem atfila. Now you're saying it? Ersh, now you're remembering? The answer is, because when you start davening, if you say Slach lanu avinu ki chatanu, you have no idea what you're asking for forgiveness for, because you haven't davened yet. Only after you said Shema, and you said Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad, and you started to see, oh my gosh, God was one the whole time. I think one of the most incredible revelations of bitachon is when you realize that, oh my, I didn't chap that if you have bitachon and you can absolutely live in a state of joy. And I was living all my life getting frustrated and angry and upset. And I didn't realize Hashem is Echad. And if you just daven and say Hashem Echad, I thought He was giving me a mitzvah and telling me that you have to pray and say Hashem Echad. And it's another thing to do. I didn't realize when you pray and you say Hashem Echad, what you're doing is seeing God in every little experience. And then you live a good life. And then you can actually have good things happening to you. So only after I said Shema Esrei, after Shema Yisrael, then I say Slach lanu avinu. Oh my gosh, Hashem, forgive me, ki chatanu. I didn't realize what I am. I didn't realize what my powers are. After you said in Shema, you said Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad. You start seeing this is not something of old. You are Megale Hashem Echad now. And then you see just what you did and what you were lacking, because chet means a lacking. You were looking at this as a point system. That Hashem gives you points. You do this, you get points. Stop it. It's not a point system. It's a lacking. If you have a revelation of God, life flows. So you're walking in darkness. This is the pasuk in Yirmiyahu that we say it in Rosh Hashanah, in the Haftarah and in Musaf. We say, Abein Yakili Ephraim. Hashem says, I love you, Ephraim. My intestine, my relishing for you. Rachem for you. So he's saying, I have Rachmanus on my neshama. Nabach my neshama. Hashem put a piece of Elokus inside me, and I have my neshama over here, and oh my gosh, what did I do? And then what happens is, that brings you to true simcha. Show me. That brings you to real simcha, because now your life flows. There's no greater simcha than this. If you didn't have Rahmanus on your soul, you don't have true simcha. That's what he's saying. The Rahmanus, right? The Rahmanus is recognizing I have a godly spark inside me. I never protected it. This is the baby. When he enters into the atmosphere in the world, what a beautiful mashal. A baby gets up, so what does he do? First he goes, he cries, and then he gets the milk. So in other words, a yid in this world, if you want the milk, what's the milk? The world is a beautiful formula. It flows. It's elokus. It's flowing, right? The world is all elokus, and everything is flowing elokus. So when you when you see, right, when you start seeing elokus in everything, then that's the cry. So the cry is, oh my gosh, I have a Rahman, I have a godly soul inside me, right? And now I notice it. So so the baby has the cry, and then he gets the milk. So a yid feels Rahmanus on his soul, and then the world starts flowing elokus. So the avodah here is, what's the avodah? The avodah is recognize Hashem in your life, right? Feel godly power, and start like noticing your soul. You have a nefesh elikis, you have a chelek mamash, and the soul's struggling, and then everything in life will start flowing milk. You'll start seeing every experience becomes exciting. The greatest simcha, what is it? From one simple thing. When you meditate on Hashem, that Hashem brought us, right? That He chose us from all the nations and brought us close to His avodah. Here's what He's saying. It's so cool to be a Jew. I get to bring Elokus everywhere. But in order to get to have Rahmanos in my soul, feel the compassion for my neshama, feel how challenged my neshama is, and allow myself to see godly experiences everywhere. And when I do, what happens? Then I say to myself, do you know something incredible? Hashem chose me, and I get to do mitzvahs. And when you put on the tefillin, you start saying Perek Malach and Tanya, right? You start seeing I'm doing Elokus. So when I learn a Maimer, it's Elokus. But you can't do that if you're still struggling with the frustrations of life. So it's only when you overcome those frustrations, then you start seeing the joy. The joy is being a Yid. The joy is doing mitzvahs. But the joy is being blocked in life by all the frustrations, because if you don't have money and you're angry about not having money, or if your wife is causing you problems, right? So then that becomes your dominant issue in your life, and you can't see the joy of life. This way, you switch the frame, and you start seeing those experiences, divine experiences, and then what happens is the milk starts flowing. That's why Chazal say, "Shadadim heim b'mokim bina." So we're talking about breast milk flowing, right? Because there's the baby being born, and the blood flowing, and the blood becomes the milk. So the dadim, the breasts, where are they? In the place of bina. Why in the place of bina? Because bina liba, the heart is where the bina is, right? So it's in my heart, basically, when I start understanding Elokus. Bina is an understanding of Hashem. When I really start to understand and appreciate what Elokus is, boom, it flows. The milk starts flowing in life, right? So let's, before we move on, let's get the summary of what we're holding. We're talking about the fact that every experience you have is a godly experience in life. And the problem is that we don't see Hashem Echad. So all we see is the concealment. We don't notice Echad in our lives. We only notice concealment. And that's the childbirth that we need to do, to be born. And how do you do that? By davening Hashem Echad. When you daven Hashem Echad, you start seeing the childbirth. And then you start seeing, reframing the life around you. So what happens is the blood, which was all the negative experience that you have, suddenly becomes milk. It starts flowing out, and that milk is what brings you closer to Hashem, and it comes about from a new reality of thinking. I think it's a phenomenal muscle. We have to go through the steps again to go through what it is, but I just want to finish with this piece of it, the last little stick over here. V'zeu. So, this is absolutely exquisite how the Alter Rebbe translates this passage. We have to find Avram. Avram was somewhere before. We spoke about Avram. Where do we speak about Avram? Doesn't make sense unless you find Avram. Yitzchak was the concealment, Ziv Chelikim. Yaakov is the Rachmanus. Avram is Ava, but he did speak about him somewhere. At any rate, so now Hashem says, okay, so read the parsha. I appeared to your love, to your sense of Yitzchak, right? Of awe, which is the way you look at the world in a new way, and compassion is Yaakov. How did I appear? Bekel Shakai. Kel Shakai is the name of Hashem, but Shakai means Shadaim. Shadaim, right, are the breasts of nursing. Pirish b'vchinas v'amshochos b'chinas Shadai. So not the name of Hashem, but rather Miloshin Birkot Shadayim, Shem Bechinas Dadim v'Cholov. Those are the breasts that give the milk. Lagdila midos ava v'yira, to increase the midas of love and fear. So Sheheimein Bechinas Avos. So I said, I appeared again. Moshe comes to Hashem and he says, God, I don't know what are you doing? Like Hashem, how could you do this? How could you make so much suffering and struggling in the world? Why Hashem would you do this? And Hashem says to Moshe, because you need to reframe it. I appear to your love and awe and compassion. What I want you to do is notice Hashem in every little detail of what happens. Notice the love, all the compassion. And then I appear to you I appear. So not see the way you read it, it's usually, to Avram means looking Yaakov I appeared, and you're just a loser, basically, or whatever, not a loser, but you're not the same level, I should say, as the others. Here he's teaching, I'm appearing to you. Further up. I'm appearing to you. I'm appearing to you, right, in your love and awe and compassion. I'm trying to get to you. And the way it comes through is Bekel Shaddai, the Shadaim, which is the breast milk flowing. So as long as you start, what's Hashem asking Moshe? Thank you. What's Hashem asking Moshe to do? He's saying, Moshe, Shakai, to start to allow the milk to flow through the milk should flow through the experiences of life. So Hashem is revealed to you that your soul should rejoice in an added measure. Thank you. An added measure and light. He's anagal Hashem, to rejoice with Hashem, with an excitement, may roiv kol, from an exciting more than anything else. So basically, re-look at all the things you're going through. Have a childbirth, have a baby born to you. What does it mean, have a baby born to you? It means to experience Elokus in a whole different way you never experienced before. And then the milk starts flowing. So in other words, we've taken the mashal of the childbirth, bringing the blood into what's it called? The blood to be flowing. And through that, the breast milk comes out, and suddenly your experiences become joyous experiences. So what's the experiences? Basically, absolute joy in your life, in the crazy things that happen in your life. There's another piece over here on Sunday, Mitzvah, we'll finish it. That's Shmi Havaya and Edaitilam, the next piece of how do you reach Shem Havaya. But that's another one, Mitzvah Hashem. Okay, we made it just in time, Baruch Hashem. Beautiful.
Have a good Shabbos.
This Maimon needs to be Fabreng. Let me tell you, it's I think the most exquisite Maimorim ever.
Yeah, we maybe we can get the recordings on the chat for this one also.
So I started to put out, I do Zoom and YouTube. So if you just put subscribe on the YouTube, it's now all on the YouTube, but I'll post it, Mr. Shem.
Okay, good.
It goes live on the YouTube.
Okay.
Shabbos, Rabbi. Shabbos.
Beautiful. Okay, good Shabbos, everybody.
Shabbos.